Hey guys, welcome back to my Order Soulmate. Catherine could tell Zach was feeling pretty pleased with himself as he drove them to the nursing home, Xavier secured in his car seat. It had been simpleton style once they figured out how to do it, although she had a feeling they were going to be later to the party than their 30-minute promise. You don't give up easily, do you? She asked, as Zach pulled into the snowy parking lot outside a hospital and adjoined care center near the edge of town. Nope. All those hours sorting and untangling threads for my grandmother as she knitted, crocheted, or did her needlepoint have paid off more than once. No way, Catherine said, delighted. You are a sweet little two-headed boy sitting at the feet of your grandmother, tending to her yarn as he stitched. Toe-headed? Blonde. Oh, yes. There was, however, a wee bit of protest. She must have been quite the woman, waggling you into essentially watching paint dry while she sat and stitched. I can still hear her in my mind. His voice hit a higher wobble note as he spoke in a feminine voice. Zachary dear, quite fidgety. The world needs more patient men. I'll agree with her there. Or the world will still be there, doing the same old things in an hour. I need you here, now. She was tough. Catherine watched Zach as he angled the car into a parking spot, noting the shortness of his grip on the wheel, the way his eyes darted to shoulder check and take a peep in his rearview mirror as he straightened the vehicle. He was strong, kind, patient, and everything solid and good at first glance, all qualities she hoped her son would have. Even my first Army commander wasn't as tough as she'd been. He was a little more direct and a bit less patient, though. Stick with the problem, Forrester, or I'll kick your... Well, you get the picture. Catherine smiled at the image of the commander ruling over Zach. How long were you in the Army? It wasn't always the Army, but that life kept me employed and fed since I was a teen. It suited you? I thought so, but... She could hear something in his voice. Aw, the grass is always greener. Is it? She was curious if he believed the expression to be true in his case. He struggled after turning off the engine. He shrugged after turning off the engine, then gazed through the windshield as though mentally balancing out both sides. When your daily work involves danger, you begin to feel paranoid that your card's about to be punched. Excuse me. What do you mean? When it comes to dodging death, there are only so many times you can be lucky. Every time you play the odds. She shivered at the thought of him facing danger, of the old arguments her parents used to have. But every time you play, the odds reset, she said quietly, quoting her father. He used to fight with her mother over how he could get caught embolizing or whatever the crime did or happened to be. It had amazed Catherine that she stayed together despite the fights. Most of the other men in the gang were in and out of marriages and relationships, faster than anyone could keep track. It wasn't cheap either. She'd seen more than one disgruntled ex-wife quieten with a thick employment envelope of cash to go spend on herself. There'd been a time when Catherine had been proud of the way her parents had stayed together, knowing the marriage was unlike the others. Her father treated his wife like a queen, giving her the latest and greatest in cars, vacations, gems, and jewels. And then one day, when Catherine was 14, she'd seen it for what it truly was. He'd been paying her off, giving her a reason to remain quiet, to stay, reasons other than love or devotion. They say the odds reset, Zach mused. But overall, you're still playing the same game. That had been her mother's point. So you came home. I bailed out and started the business with Logan, because as she discovered yesterday, he was alone. He had no home to return to after leaving active duty. She struggled with the urge to reach over and touch his hand, to let him know he wasn't alone. Instead, she kept her hands clasped in front of her and her gaze out the window at the snowy scene surrounding them. On the radio, the announcer called out the time. They were definitely going to be late for John's birthday gathering, but this felt worth it. You thought civilian life would be straightforward and easy, she asked, referring to their earlier conversation. The idea of trading heavy problems for light ones was appealing, but is an adjustment. The things I care about now are whether my neighborhood is bothered by the weeds in my yard rather than whether my team is about to be weeded, if you know what I mean. Very poetic, he smiled. I can tell. The way he was watching her caused a warm tug in her gut. She liked his easy charm and his contradictory serious undertone. His life hadn't been perfect, either, but he was still standing, still had a concrete backbone she felt she could count on. You're looking at me as if you just decided you might like me, she laughed, feeling free, safe. Is my expression that readable? He got the look again. It's more like I know you, he added quickly. I don't. But it's as though his blue eyes gazed at her, searching for clues, things to put into words. She knew what it was. There aren't many people like us, people with a past so dark that even a floodlight couldn't eliminate it. During the conversation, they began to lean in, their shoulders touching over the console, their lips now close enough that one of them could raise their chin and they'd be kissing. Maybe that's what it is, Zach said softly. This close, she could see the faint scar on his cheek, the pulse in his temple, feel the heat from his body. He smelled good, like someone she could get close to. She straightened, heart pounding. She opened the car door, letting a blast of cold air into the vehicle's warmth. Seconds later, she was out in it, opening the back door to retrieve Xavier. What had she been thinking? She'd almost kissed Zach. She needed to stay distant, not hint that she had a darker-than-most past, although it wasn't obvious due to the way she'd been running across the world after marrying a perfect stranger. They aren't alike. They had decided this life they have dedicated his life. He had dedicated his life to good things, to protecting others, to honor. He was a good man and wouldn't understand that she wasn't like her family, who'd sold arms on the black market, the very thing most military men risk their life to fight against in hostile areas of the world. Managing to retrieve Xavier from the cramped back seat, she tried for a teasing tone as she met up with Zach alongside the car. What's her real vehicle again, and when do you get it back? A Land Rover, Tuesday. He was watching her, the slope of his slumped shoulders, hinting a disappointment of the way she'd so quickly retreated. Ample rear seat? For all things. The hint of flirtation in his gaze made her blush. She wanted to flirt back, desperately. Instead, she handed him the carrier and flipped a blanket over Xavier, protecting him from the cold wind whipping across the parking lot. In awkward silence, they walked to the building, then down the long, shiny hallways, every moment of quiet highlighting how she ruined their little moment, taken it and stomped on it. What's with the team pancakes or team waffles thing, she asked. Ginger asked me back at the store. No clue. Zach shot her a quick smile and knocked at a wide window after sitting down Xavier in his carrier, probably trying to figure out if we're capable. He held her eye until she had to look away. From inside the room came a loud man's voice. You gonna get that, sweet cheeks. Zach let out a chuckle. Which team are you? Catherine asked, curiosity getting the best of her despite her vow to keep some distance between them. Depends on my mood. You're a pancake all the way. Zach's chin jerked as though he was insulted. He turned, leaning against the wall to face her more fully. Pancake? I have you know that I'm complex enough to be a waffle. Next, a woman's voice Next, a woman's voice came from inside the room. Reggie, don't be so lazy. I'm being practical and conserving energy, the man replied. The door's always for you, my social butterfly. Catherine shook her head, ignoring the fight going on inside the suit. I'm a waffle. You're about the essentials. No fools. That says pancake all over it. Fools, huh? Shuffling sounds slowly grew louder on the other side of the door, cycling toward Catherine, the fresh snow following him. She caught a hint of his aftershave, which clung to Xavier's clothing after being held by him. She already associated the smell with good things like snowmen, hot cocoa, and happiness. Zach was still in her space, and she forced herself not to step back, but to hold her ground. I like pancakes, but they're quick and easy. His voice was low, with a hint of something in his tone that made her body respond in a way it hadn't to a man in nearly a year. The problem is, oh, how his voice was delicious. Syrup burns off with pancakes. It doesn't pull, so they're never quite sweet enough. Catherine opened her mouth to retort, but the suit door opened, and an elderly woman exclaimed with glee, "Oh, it's Zach!" She placed her hands on his cheeks, smiling up at him before frowning remorsefully. How's the poor car? I'm picking it up on Tuesday. I'm sorry about that. I hope the bumper didn't cost too much. It's fine. The woman's lips perched and she shook her head. I really wish she'd let me pay for it, since I was the one without insurance. She saw Catherine standing behind Zach and explained, I no longer drive, but it was an emergency, and wouldn't you know, I slid right into poor Zach's Range Runner. Land Rover, he said quietly. Yes, that big thing. Catherine took a second look at Zach, so he hadn't been embarrassed about the accident. He wanted to change the subject because he'd been protecting a little old lady. She wasn't sure what that meant, but it made her heart warm. Catherine bent over Xavier's carrier to make sure he wasn't overheating, and the woman focused more closely on her. Now who do we have here? This is Catherine, Zach said, then cleared his throat as he lifted Xavier in his seat. My wife and her son, Xavier. Married? I thought that was just a rumor. Ginger said she hadn't found you anyone. This is Gran, he added. Everyone calls me that, she said, catching Catherine's uncertain expression. No need to be related to have the honor. The woman turned back to the suit, hollering, Reggie, come meet Zach's new wife. He found someone. Reggie said something, and she hollered back. I'm not fibbing. It's true. She's standing right here with her baby. Get off your duff and come see. She turned again, all smiles. What a sweet picture the three of you make. Catherine awkwardly shifted from foot to foot, intriguing about how Zach didn't seem at all fazed by Gran. Zach reached into his coat pocket. I think I found something that belongs to you. He pulled out the ring and Gran peered at it for a moment as though trying to look through invisible reading glasses. Then her expression brightened. Reggie, break out the good sherry. Zach found my mother's old engagement ring. She waved her hand. Come in, come in. The ring slides off my finger in this cold weather. I need to get it resized. We're actually on our way to John's birthday party, Zach said, not moving. I just wanted to drop this off so you could stop worrying. Oh, that's so sweet of you, Gran frowned. John's party? Wasn't his birthday last month? I'm not sure. Her expression froze for a second before she said hurriedly, Well, you better go. You can't be late. So nice of you to drop this off for me. Lovely meeting you, Catherine dear. The door closed and Catherine gave Zach a surprised look, to which he shrugged in reply. The door opened again and Gran held out her hand. Zach, dear, since I don't drive anymore and I never think to ask Mary Alice to drop me off at the jewelry store, would you be a dear and get this resized? I want to wear it to church on Sunday. Of course. Zach pocketed the ring again. What size? Just one down from the shoulder should be fine. and she shut the door again, with no mention of a reward and him whittling taking another offer. Catherine fell a little bit in love with her helpful and honest husband.